What's up and welcome back to Cryptographics. Today we're going to go over part 3 in our 4-part series of Hedron and the upcoming staking platform Icosa. So let's get right into part 3 in today's video. So far in this series, we've covered Hedron's basic mechanics, how the Hedron staking pool works, how HSIs create Icosa, and how the Icosa supply both inflates and functions over time. If you have not watched the previous videos, pause the video and watch that first so you fully understand how this all ties together. There are 2 remaining features that we haven't talked about, however. As a brief overview, we will cover the Icosa staking pool, which pays yield in the form of both Icosa and Hedron tokens, how the payouts work, as well as the minimum timeframes involved for staking and penalties for ending a stake early. Secondarily, we will cover a brand new concept, a We Are All the Source Address staking pool. This is a one-time access pool where users purchase an NFT as a representation of their stake in the pool. To see their reward, users must burn their NFT to obtain their portion of the yield in Icosa to date. This means once they cash out, they're out forever, kind of like a last man standing pool, but let's continue this discussion later. Time to talk Icosa staking. Very much like the Hedron staking pool, the Icosa pool has minimum time lengths of stake based on the total percentage of the supply a stake has. Let's review these stake lengths quickly. In order to understand the minimum stake lengths in these pools, we must establish the classes of Icosa token holders. Again, if you watch part 2, you already kind of understand this. It's pretty much the same thing. A whale is defined as holding 1% of the supply, a shark holds 0.1% of the supply, a dolphin holds 0.01% of the supply, and a squid holds 0.001% of the supply. Anything less than these tiers will have a minimum stake length of 30 days. And a whale-sized stake must stake for a minimum of 360 days. The benefit to the whale comes in the form of a 20% bonus in yield for the entirety of the stake. A shark-sized stake must be staked for a minimum of 240 days. The benefit of the shark-sized stake is a 15% bonus in yield for the entirety of the stake. A dolphin-sized stake must stake for a minimum of 180 days and gets a bonus of 10% over that period. Finally, as far as the minimums and bonuses go, a squid must stake for 90 days and receives a 5% bonus for serving the minimum. All stakes smaller than a squid size have a 30-day minimum and no bonus, like we talked about before. These bonuses are received at the end of the stake. However, stakes themselves can be diluted or increased in the percentage of supply a stake has at a given time, meaning someone can go up and down, which we're going to get to here. So a user can be diluted due to a brilliant mechanic in the staking pool. It's the ability to add to a stake at any point. The only catch to this is that the minimum stake length is reset anytime the stake is added to. This means that users can both increase their own positions in the pool at any time and get knocked down by other users at any time. Let's move on now to number 2 and talk about Icosa yield. Because Icosa is only inflationary, this means users will likely continuously have to add to their stakes or be diluted. Especially in the early days, since the inflation is likely to be its highest it ever will be. So, how does Icosa get calculated for the pool's yield? First, let's look at the formula that I'll put on screen right now. Hedron burned in previous day, which is very similar, or if not exactly the same as one that we did for the Hedron pool, divided by the T-share rate is equal to the Icosa to the pool. This means that all Hedron burned in the previous day is divided by the T-share rate. Again, the T-share has that decimal included due to the solidity programming, meaning a rate of 22903 hex per T-share would use 22903 and then a 2 or whatever number will come after that in the decimal point as its number to divide the Hedron burned. As an example, if 50 billion Hedron were burned in the previous day and we use the share rate above, there would be a total of 218,310 Icosa distributed throughout the pool as yield to stakers. What is included in the amount of Hedron burnt in the previous day is 50% of the emergency end stake penalties. This means that 50% of all emergency end stake penalties in Hedron apply to the Icosa yield in both the Icosa pool and the Hedron pool. All Icosa penalties from EES, or emergency end staking, are distributed evenly across the Hedron, Icosa, and WAATSA pools. I'll call the We Are All the Source Address the WAATSA for the rest of this episode here or series. Now that we've established how the Icosa is calculated, let's go over the Hedron distributed to the pool. And that'll be number 3, Hedron Yield. To understand where the Hedron yield for this pool comes from, let's quickly jog our memories to the HSI, or the hex stake instance, through hedron.pro. When a user sells their HSI to the smart contract in exchange for Icosa tokens, all possible Hedron is borrowed against the HSI by the smart contract, which then puts the HSI up for auction in 90 days. This borrowed Hedron is sent to the Icosa pool and becomes part of the yield received by users. What this implies is the rate at which users sell HSIs to the smart contract has a direct correlation to how much Hedron will be sent to the pools as yield. If Icosa is cheaper on the market, and therefore you get more Icosa per dollar spent there, it is likely we'll see less Hedron enter the pool during that period. On the contrary, if HSI buybacks yield more Icosa than you could get on the market for the same value of the HSI, then it is likely we'll see more Hedron sent to the pool as yield. Secondarily, Hedron yield also comes from emergency end stake penalties. 50% of all Hedron taken in penalties is burnt from the supply. However, the other 50% is sent to the Icosa staking pool as Hedron yield. Now that we've covered the basic mechanics of the Icosa staking pool and where it gets its yield from, let's move on to the final piece of this platform, the We Are All the Source Address pool in number 4. The We Are All the Source Address pool is a unique one-time access pool that allows users to mint an NFT which is worth a certain percentage of the pool. The period where users can buy in will last around 14 days, and once it ends will be closed forever. This pool gets the same amount of Icosa per day as the Icosa pool, but users can only withdraw their Icosa yield by burning their NFT. Let's dive in a little deeper now. To gain access to this pool, users will send one of the following currencies to the smart contract in exchange for points, which will be applied to the NFT. USDC, ETH, Hex, Hedron, Maxi, or PLSD can be sent to earn these points. The points are then used to measure the percentage of the pool each NFT is worth, with every dollar being worth 1 point. The pool gets the same yield amount as the Icosa pool. However, there are no minimum or maximum time constraints. Instead, users can only access their yield by completely cashing out of the system forever and burning their NFT. When a user cashes out, everyone remaining in the pool has their percentage of the pool increased, meaning a larger yield for those left in the pool. This process repeats every time someone burns their NFT to receive their Icosa yield until there are no more users left in the pool. And theoretically, someone could stay in the pool forever and not claim their Icosa, and it would just keep on going as a theoretical situation. But it is possible. The process has no time limits and could last for years before the last user has burnt their NFT, in the case where everyone is actively waiting to gain their yield, of course. Let's paint this picture and create a clear understanding of everything before we move on. Imagine that there are 10 people in this pool, and each person has 100 points per NFT. This means there are a total of 1,000 points combined, and each user gets, of course, 10% of the pool's yield. When the first user burns their NFT and obtains their yield, there are now only 900 points remaining in the pool. Each user now holds 11.1% of the pool, and their yield per day increases. This recalculation continues every single time someone cashes out until there are no users left in the pool. The last man standing gets 100% of the yield for as long as they stay in the pool. While users hold this NFT and allow their yield to accumulate, they do have the option, if they so choose, to sell this NFT on the open market. Because this NFT is worth the percentage it holds of the pool and will only be getting more valuable over time, a user could in fact leverage the future value to cash out of the pool at a likely higher value than what the yield at that time would be. On the flip side, it is therefore possible for a user to buy into the pool later, or if they miss the buy-in period, by buying one of these NFTs on the open market. And you could even buy more potentially if there was a few on the market and you wanted to really up your stake in the pool. Now it's time for a conclusion. Now, if you've been trying your best to follow along in this series, but you haven't quite connected all the dots yet, don't worry. In the next part of the series, we will summarize everything we've covered in the last 3 videos into one easy to understand video. I will also include my final thoughts on the platform and its implications for Hex. The first 3 parts of this series were intended to be more of a micro look at everything going on and really breaking it down to its finer details. So if you haven't understood everything till now, these videos can be a tool to come back to once you've watched the next episode, and then you can really start to understand what's happening here. But I wanted to get all the details out first before finishing the series with a nice summary. But finally, and before we go, I need to give another massive shout out again to the entire Icosa Telegram chat, including the founder, Alex, Crypto Sloth, Blue, Enigma, Nomad, Gifford, and many, many, many others who helped get me all this information so I could make this series for everybody and put this information out to the world. And hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did and you're still here, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. If you're still here, please smash that like button and that subscribe button and drop me a comment with what you think about the Icosa platform coming up with Hedron. If you understood the video, if you're excited, if you can't stand Hedron, let me know your thoughts. If you'd like to support the channel and you want to talk with me one-on-one about this whole new protocol upcoming, you can book a call at cryptographics.com. You can also support the channel by joining the YouTube memberships. You can buy merch and you can donate within a link below. And finally, there are scammers in the comments. Please don't engage with them if it's not my highlighted cryptographics name bar. It's not me. I'm not trying to pull you to WhatsApp or Instagram or anywhere at all. If you have questions for me, go to cryptographics.com and fire me a question there. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you in part 4 of this series very soon. Peace.